This is Sam, and welcome to our JGSN crash course. Today, we're going to be discussing the Paleolithic era through the early Neolithic and Bronze Age. The Paleolithic era was the majority of human history where mankind hunted and gathered its food.
That sounds fun. Why can't we go back to that?
Well, many people argue that the system of obtaining food would have been better on the environment and wouldn't have led to the competition of resources, which led to wars. The other side of the argument says that it was part of the natural process of human advancements. They actually did a lot. During the Paleolithic era, the men went out and hunted while women mostly gathered, cooked, and took care of the family. Women, unlike in the later eras, were actually classified as being more important than men. People of this time also had to move from place to place in search of food, as they didn't have a constant, sustainable local source. That's right! As I was saying, the Neolithic Revolution changed the way people lived, as it allowed them to stay in one place and farm food, rather than have to constantly move to hunt and gather. This caused the development of villages as a reliable source of food, which led to the first cities and eventually empires being formed.
Now it's time for the artifact of the day.
And today we have
Copper pennies!
These pennies represent a revolutionary change in the world because they are made up of copper. Copper was a very valuable resource during the Neolithic era. It was one of the two metals utilized to make bronze, which was applied in tools and weapons. These were the resources in which empires were built upon. The Bronze Age was a time where people combined arsenic or tin with copper because when that hardens, it becomes bronze. It was very useful for tools and weapons. Raw materials such as wool, metal, timber, and precious stones arrived in the cities during this time. One of the most important metals was copper because it was easily smelted and shaped. We see here women in the late years farming during the Neolithic period. This shows us the farming age and how it changed the communities and their economies. People developed a traditional farming lifestyle and later formed permanent settlements and a reliable food supply. Now that we talked about what the Neolithic Revolution was and what transpired, we will now discuss a few of the civilizations it affected. You know what's pretty weird? In the Paleolithic period, the art had two main forms, small structures and monumental paintings. They used walls and rocks to draw. They also made figures made out of clay and, get this, bones. Did you hear that? Bones. It's freaking weird. Okay? Anyways. What else is pretty weird is they could draw on the walls all they wanted. But when we do that now, it's called graffiti. Not fair if you ask me. Some people see human and animal drawings and think it's evidence of magical rites to show people success in hunting or fertile production. They also had cattle, goats, sheep, and little piggies. So, what did we talk about today?
We talked about how the hunters became farmers and how it changed the world.
Yeah, great work! We also talked about the Bronze Age and how that affected us today. Like how we still use copper and pennies and other pipes or wires. During the Paleolithic Age, it is thought that they used bones and wood for tools, but no fossil tools have yet been found. Weird, huh? We also learned about the Neolithic period and the farming changes that occurred during this time. People began to change and settle permanently since they could farm in one place now.
Wow, I wish we could still hunt and fish like they used to.
Silly me from the past. We can still do that. People just don't do it as often as they used to. The only difference is they used to hunt for their food, but never seemed to settle in one place. During the Bronze Age, people made tools and weapons out of bronze, which was part of the reason why they called it the Bronze Age. How ironic. Alright, I think I'm done filling you up with knowledge from the earliest years of Earth's civilization. So thank you so much for watching, and I hope you learned some really useful information today. Feel free to go tell your friends and parents what you learned.
This is Jay.
This is Drew.
This is S.
This is N.
And we're signing out.
End it.
I hopped off the plane at LAX with a dream in my car.